Every May, fans celebrate the enduring legacy of Star Wars and demand that Disney and Lucasfilm give them a sequel to Solo. Solo was a box office failure, and any plans for a sequel were scrapped by Disney. But what went wrong? Did no one like it, or did Han's recast upset the fans? Today, let's dive into what makes a legacy film a failure and why Ron Howard thinks Solo bombed in 2018. First, let's get into the director's comments. Here's the thing, if fans are constantly clamoring for a Solo sequel, then why'd the original fail? Have you seen Twitter on the 4th of May ever since Solo released in 2018? People want it, and they've made accounts dedicated to campaigning for a sequel. They're not going to stop demanding it from Lucasfilm or Disney. And honestly, we agree. Solo was an awesome prequel that showcased the charm of a young Han Solo and his buddy Chewbacca, and featured a massive cast and gorgeous visuals. The story might not have been up to Star Wars standards, but it wasn't bad either. Ron Howard, who directed the prequel, told NME that the movie didn't work because it was too nostalgic. He explained that revisiting a legacy character, writing an origin story about him, and tapping the nostalgia nerve might not be what fans are looking for. But hold the phone, that's exactly what they're looking for. Well, most of them. While it's true that Alden Ehrenreich portrayed Hans's bad boy charm perfectly, there were fans looking for something more original. Next, the need for something beyond the Skywalker saga. If you notice the latest influx of Star Wars projects, it's mostly set a little before, during, or after the Skywalker saga. The Mandalorian is set sometime after Return of the Jedi. The Book of Boba Fett is also set within the same timeline. Obi-Wan Kenobi is set 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. You get the idea. The only show that we can say that's completely its own thing is Andor, and it takes the cake as one of the most original, beautiful, and compelling Star Wars projects in a long time. Sure, it's set a few years before Rogue One and is technically a prequel of a prequel, but it's original. It doesn't have much to do with the Skywalker saga and features characters and incidents that are self-contained narratives. It shows you the struggle of Cassian Andor, a thief-turned-rebel leader. Yes, it's technically close to the Skywalker saga by proxy, but that's not the point. The point is originality. We need new, interesting characters. We need new planets and cultural moments. We need more shows and movies to do what Andor has done in 12 well-paced episodes. But let's go back to Solo. Now, Solo's co-producer wants you to keep campaigning for a sequel. That's right, Rob Bredow, co-producer for Solo, recently pushed fans to continue demanding a sequel if they really want it. In an interview with comicbook.com, he said that he loves when fans desire a sequel so much that they start online campaigns for it. He believes that it's the fans who have the power to change the minds of the execs at Disney. All the writers and producers can do is keep motivating them to continue with the Twitter hashtags. Solo co-writer Lawrence Kasdan, who was right next to Rob, added that a sequel is still possible. Not possible in the sense that it's in the works at Disney, but possible in the sense that there are many Han Solo stories to tell. Also, yeah, both Ron Howard and Kasdan confirmed that Disney doesn't have any plans for a sequel right now. It's just not a priority at this point. You know, the thing is, ever since the rise of Skywalker and Solo, the studios have been reluctant to make another movie. If you notice, they're only coming out with TV shows right now. Another live-action Star Wars movie means that they'll have to risk the box office again. And obviously, Disney doesn't want to do that. Remember when the news about Taika Waititi directing a possible Star Wars flick flooded the internet? Yeah, that's not happening anytime soon. The fact is, Disney doesn't want another box office bomb, and they'd rather make more TV shows. Let's talk about Solo for a minute. Was it a bad Star Wars movie? Now that Disney's coming out with another Indiana Jones movie, you could make the argument that Solo could totally put Harrison Ford, a man who's 80 years old, in a space adventure about a young Han Solo. But you'd be wrong. Disney does have the money to de-age Ford's face to when he was 21, but why? Is CGI really the way to go for a character as beloved as Han freaking Solo? Trust us, it'll be a CGI mess that puts Ford's face firmly in the uncanny valley and balloon the studio's budget so high they won't be able to break even. But no, let's forget about CGI, de-aging, and Harrison Ford for a second. Can you really not have a great Solo movie without the iconic face and husky voice? Solo didn't reinvent an origin movie, but it was far from a bad Star Wars film. It drew heavily from classic westerns and included a thrilling train heist that had us on the edge of our seats. It forced Han to cross paths with his childhood sweetheart Kira, played by Emilia Clarke, and gave us Donald Glover as a double-dealing yet charming Lando Calrissian. And speaking of Lando, was Disney's recast of another iconic Star Wars character a bad move? We don't think so. De-aging is one thing, and it may work for some movies where it makes sense, but alienating millions of Star Wars fans is a much bigger risk. Besides, recasting the characters brings fresh blood into the franchise. It keeps the stories moving forward without getting stale and gives us new insights into their youths. So, what really happened to Solo? Coming up, the firing of Lord and Miller. Originally, Lucasfilm hired Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who directed 21 Jump Street and the Lego Movie, to work on Solo. They had a screenplay by Lawrence Kasdan and his son Jonathan, and everything seemed to go beautifully. Lord and Miller are the kind of directors who encourage their actors to improvise and adapt to the scenes, instead of doing things exactly in the script. They also prefer shooting with fewer camera angles, which basically means that you have less leeway when it comes to editing the movie together. What if you want a scene to look more dramatic or less dramatic, and you don't have the shots to make it work? Anyway, Lord and Miller shot Solo the way they'd shoot 21 Jump Street. Lots of improvs and a lot of comedic moments. And Lawrence wasn't happy with any of it. Instead of staying true to the story, the improvisation changed the direction the story was heading towards. This caused a lot of disagreements between the directors and the writers, forcing Lucasfilm to step in and basically fire Lord and Miller. After that, Ron Howard was hired to complete the film. And get this, they had only 3 weeks to complete filming and move to post-production. Up next, the rushed reshoots and bombing at the box office. So, as you can imagine, 3 weeks to finish principal photography and do reshoots is really difficult. Actors are on a tight schedule, and every day you delay a shoot, it costs millions of dollars. And no, that's not an exaggeration. Every day on a big-budget studio movie costs millions of dollars, and they have to keep things as streamlined as possible. Well, Howard made it happen, and the final budget stood at $275 million, pretty huge for a movie of Solo's size. When it was released in 2018, it could only rake in about $393 million on the box office, which means Disney didn't even break even. Pro tip, if you're making a big budget movie and want to know when you'll break even, double your production budget and that's your break even point. After that, it's all profit. And for Solo to be profitable and warrant a sequel, it should have made at least $550 to $600 million worldwide. Not to mention the bad publicity and poor word of mouth. Let's talk about the whole Lord and Miller debacle. You see, none of the creative differences happened in secret. The directors were fired 5 months after production began, and everyone was reporting on the incident. Of course, heated arguments and crew changes happen all the time, but they have consequences. People, especially the fans, start to question if it'll even be worth it. Even Jeff Bach, an exhibitor relations analyst, said that true die-hard Star Wars fans follow the happenings at Disney and Lucasfilm closely. They're the first to know insider information, leaks, and rumors. They'll be the first to tell you if a movie's worth watching. So when news started surfacing that Lord and Miller were fired over creative differences and intended to make a hilarious comedy instead of a lighthearted drama, word started to spread. Of course, the movie's release didn't help things either. Critics weren't really happy with the story, and fans said that it was a beautiful film but light on the story, because that's true. Solo is gorgeously filmed, but the screenplay could have used more work, and this led to poor word-of-mouth reviews, and it snowballed into fewer and fewer seats filling the cinema. Finally, Solo competed with Infinity War. After everything we said so far, this should definitely make it clear why Solo didn't make waves at the box office. It was released on May 10, 2018, 13 days before Infinity War. Now, correct us if we're wrong, but both movies were targeting the exact same Comic-Con audience, right? Folks who watch Star Wars are generally also interested in Infinity War, and that movie was a cultural moment beyond anything we've ever seen. Think about it. Would you rather watch an origin movie of an iconic character who's died, or would you watch a superhero movie that ties together 10 years of storytelling in one of the biggest storytelling events in the last few years? There's no wonder Infinity War made over $2 billion at the box office, and Solo failed to make a dent. It was, as Thanos would say, inevitable. And that's a wrap, folks. Thanks for watching. So why do you think Solo bombed at the box office? And do you think it was just a bad Star Wars movie? Tell us down below. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos just like this. See you at the next one.